Hello and welcome to the Election Chaser, live from the National Tally Room here in Canberra. I'm Craig Rucastle, and tonight we'll be taking you behind the scenes of the election, giving you information you don't need to vote for people you don't want. I'm joined by the ABC's chief political commentator, Chris Taylor.
Thanks, Craig. It's very good to be here.
And as always, the ABC's election analyst, Julian Morrow. Good to have you back, Julian.
Well, I only work once every 3 years, so I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Well, just under 3 weeks until the polls close. We've got a lot of seats to get through, so let's get started. Julian, can we start with Kalgoorlie?
Sure. Kalgoorlie's Western Australian marginal, actually the largest electorate in the country, held by the Liberals by 2.1%. And as you can see, I don't have any results there.
No results?
Nope.
All right, well, let's go over to Canning then, shall we?
Sure. Another key marginal seat in Western Australia. Labor must win that one, but look, I haven't got any results there either.
Yeah, look, I think one of the important things to keep in mind here is the polls do close later in Western Australia, so maybe it'll pay for us to go back there a little bit later on.
Yeah, good point, Chris. Well, let's come back to the eastern seaboard. Can we have a look at the New South Wales seat of Dobell?
Sure. Dobell's another Labor marginal, held by Michael Lee by only 1.5%.
Now, we've actually got Charles Firth out in the seat of Dobell at the moment. We'll just go to him. Charles, are you there? Charles, are you there?
Yes, Craig.
What's the trend at this stage out there in Dobell, Charles?
Well, actually, I only just arrived here, but I spoke to one guy on the way in, and he said that he might vote Liberal.
Oh, interesting. Well, Julian, can we have some figures on that?
Well, if we factor that in, gee, I'm getting a massive swing against Labor. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, look, on those figures there, I'm willing to call that for the Libs.
Well, there you go, Dobell for the Liberals, the first seat called in election 2001. Julian, what are the implications of that on national scale?
Well, if the Dobell result is repeated nationally, this is how it'll look.
Well, that is quite interesting. Chris, are you willing to call the election on this basis?
Well, look, clearly some very encouraging signs there for the coalition, but I think this will be one of those elections that'll come down to polling days, so just a little too soon to call at this stage.
All right, well, let's just look. You still think Labor's in with a chance here? Let's look at their positives. They've just released this GST rollback. What did you think of it?
Well, I'll be interested to see how that goes down. I mean, they promised to roll back the GST on gas and electricity, but not for 2 or 3 years.
Well, I think it's going to play very well. I've spoken to a lot of people, and on the strength of GST rollback, they've all said that they're committed to voting Labor in 2 or 3 years. OK, well, APEC, another issue. Prime Minister's just got back today. Yeah. Do you think that by going to Shanghai, he's really left himself open to attacks from the opposition? Well, I don't think Peter Costello attacked him at all while he was away. I thought it was fine.
Well, the whole issue of the Liberal Party leadership has already come into play, we've seen in this election, but I think most of the media has been a bit wide of the mark, focusing on Peter Costello. I'm the only commentator who's noticed that John Anderson hasn't given up the search for Harold Holt.
Yeah, very true. Well, on John Anderson and, of course, the National Party, they had their launch today in Tweed Heads. Chris, do you still think that they're under threat from One Nation?
Oh, look, I think One Nation will give them a little bit of a scare, perhaps. Pauline Hanson, the leader of One Nation, had her own campaign launch last week and kicked off with a very strong statement.
I'll be looking forward to a long rest after the election, whether I win or I don't win. I'm really tired.
Well, there's a real affirmation of dedication to serve the electorate.
It certainly is. Well, just 2 months ago, the coalition looked dead in the water, but new polls now have them winning comfortably. Julian, can we just have a look at those polls and can you explain what happened there?
Well, as you can see, Craig, Labor was riding high in the polls a few months ago, and then something happened, and look, I can't put my finger on it, but support for Labor really has softened.
You know, clearly it's going to be a really big challenge for Kim Beazley, and the Prime Minister has questioned his ability to lead. Does Mr Beazley have the ticker for the job? We sent Charles Firth out to investigate.
A Chaser ticker test. Subject, Kim Beazley. Weakness, food. Can the Labor leader survive a doorstop interview without needing a snack? Test item 1, hot buttered corn.
To which Howard can respond. It is not that hard.
Fail. Test item 2, a delicious drumstick. Fail. Test item 3, wholesome French bread. Initial resistance, but what about if we add dip? Fail. The ticker test results speak for themselves. Result, no ticker. Kim Beazley, how can he control the country when he can't control himself? From the makers of the Bob Hawke Home Brewing Kit comes another amazing offer. The Black Rod. For centuries, the Black Rod has been used to mark the opening of Parliament. Now you can perform this outdated ritual in your very own home.
I declare this barbecue open. The black rod is handy all around the house.
I now declare this block toilet open.
It can even double as a home security device.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
I now declare your head cracked open.
Lovingly crafted from plastic and gilt, the black rod will add a sense of occasion to proceedings at your place. Ring today. I now declare our lines open.
All you got to do is smoke daily. I'm only smoking here because I'm having a drink and I can't go 4 or 5 hours without a smoke.
The issues, the GST. The Coalition believes the GST has simplified our tax system by creating less small businesses for the tax office to worry about. They also believe it's been good for big business, although admit a few people have had trouble with compliance. Labor has promised to change the GST to make it even more confusing. It's hoping its promised rollback on tampons and funerals will help woo the crucial votes of cremated females.
Welcome back to the National Tally Room. There's no question that this election really kicked off with the great debate. Chris, what did you make of that?
Well, I think it was very good for Kim Beazley. I mean, you've only got to look at his body language here to see a message of strength and leadership. And if you examine the body language of Howard, I think he too sent a pretty clear message.
And I know the Worm really responded to that.
I wouldn't mind just talking a little bit more about the great debate. I mean, when you've been in the press gallery as long as I have, you start to pick up a few things, and one of those things is politicians don't always say what they mean. There's a subtext underneath a lot of what they say. There's a very good example of this in the great debate, and just to make it a little bit clearer, I've just prepared this to tell you exactly what Howard was thinking.
You mentioned something, Mr. Howard, here about a year ago, reconciliation was on the national agenda. We've barely heard a word of it from you or from Mr. Beazley in the last couple of months. What's happened to reconciliation?
Oh, I think quite a lot. I think the fact that the number of Indigenous people who are now in apprenticeships and traineeships has quadrupled in the time that we've been in government, that the number of Indigenous people going to universities has gone up dramatically.
ACOS and other top charity organisations today call for at least negotiations on a treaty. Is that going to happen?
Well, not while I'm Prime Minister.
How about for you?
Well, could I just finish? I think a treaty is divisive. Now, I am not in favour of a treaty. We are one indivisible nation, and our obligation is to try and give everybody a decent place in the sun within the broad Australian nation.
Welcome back to the Election Chaser here in the National Tally Room on what is politics night of nights. And it's an election which has been turned on its head somewhat since the Tampa affair.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that whatsoever. I mean, the minute those asylum seekers arrived, it was a real breakthrough for Howard, I think.
Well, since Tampa, a wave of refugee bashing has swept through national politics, with both parties weighing in. It's proven to be a real vote winner. With that in mind, I went down to Canberra to give the politicians another chance to exploit this volatile issue. We're here at Parliament House to give the politicians an opportunity to do what they really love to do. Bash a refugee. There are so many votes in it and it's really fun. We're just wondering if you wanted to get like 5 or 10% more votes in the next election. What do you reckon? You keen on that?
Yeah, it'd be lovely.
Well, what all you have to do is give a refugee a bash. That's the secret to it, right?
Oh, yes.
It's easy. Look, look at this. I've got One Nation preferences already. Just a little whack like that. Oh, come on. No. Come on, you're going to get somebody else? Did the Prime Minister say only he could do it? Do you want to have a go?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I wouldn't bash a refugee.
It's a very un-Australian response of yours, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Would you like a go?
Actually, this good-looking fellow doesn't look like a refugee.
Oh, is he? Good-looking refugee? That's not going to get you up in the polls. Just bash a refugee. Look, it's easy as anything.
Yeah.
And you can get 5 or 10% in the polls. What do you reckon? Look, give him a bash now, and we can change the laws later and make it so it's all right. You've got to take the opportunity up. Look at this. Here's a refugee. Here's something to bash him with. 10% in the polls. Just as easy as that. Come on, a swinging bat for a swinging seat.
No.
See? Easy as anything.
And I do think that actually there are some people who regard what you're doing as funny, and I think that's very sad.
There you go.
Give him
very
a bash,
clever.
come on.
Good on you.
It's the Australian welcome.
Good
he
on
needs
you,
to
mate.
be welcomed to this country. Come on, Mr. Baird. Look at him. He's invading our country. You just kind of come through like this, good leverage. Right. You give it a hard enough shot, we reckon you can get him to Nauru. Right. Come on. Okay, bit of work from the back bench. Oh, not me. I'm an Australian citizen.
Fucking idiot.
So confusing, I know.
Gee, Mark Latham really got stuck into you, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did, didn't he? But don't worry, Mark, I won't be pressing charges during the campaign. Anyway, let's get on with the show.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Craig. I should just warn everyone, we've had to tighten security here. Apparently Natasha Stott-Despoyer's got wind there's a new show on TV, and we've just been advised she may try and break in and be a guest panellist in any second. I think we've got some security cameras on the scene.
Yes, we're treating this very seriously indeed. We have asked the SAS to secure the area.
In fact, the whole region, I believe, Craig, is on full Stott-Despoyer alert.
But I do want to stress that it is important we don't panic. We will try and go on with the show. Let's move on to some seats.
Well, can we have a look at some seats again, possibly?
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind having a look at the seat of Mayo, if we could, which is held by Alexander Downer,
Sure,
of course.
yeah, that's an Adelaide seat, and of course the Downer family very dominant in Adelaide politics. In fact, Alexander actually was given Mayo as a 21st birthday present.
Now, didn't he almost lose that in the last election?
That's right, to John Schumann, the Democrat candidate, and also a former member of the band Red Gum.
Well, that's right. It's a very interesting result, very odd. I mean, John Schumann was pretty much just a two-bit folk singer whose one hit was I've Been to Bali Too, and he polled very well with the Mayo electorate and really took a big swipe out of Downer's vote. But this time Downer's going to cover that vote by adopting the same campaign strategy.
But one of you said go away. Never mind, we'll cope and we'll do it bilaterally. That's the Australian way. Ooh, I wanna take you to the Philippines, Cambodia. Come on, pretty mama, Hanoi.
And on that performance, he's going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah, thanks, Julian. Thanks, Chris. You're with the Election Chaser, live from the National Tally Room, and we're now joined by Charles Firth, who's been out in the bush. Charles, the bush vote may decide this election.
That's right, Craig. During my listening tour of the bush, I spoke to a lot of people, and quite frankly, they're sick of the way the media treats them. So I've compiled this special in-depth report. The bush. It's what makes part of this country so rural. But to most of us, it's a mystery. Tonight on Beat Up, we unpull the wool from the nation's eyes and ask the bush, what's its problem? To find out, I went straight to an expert. If this batch of scones were Australia's problems, how many of them would be in the bush? It's a hard Devonshire tea to swallow. So let's go and have a taste. To get a real feel for the bush, it's best to go out there. In this harsh environment, people have to rely on good mates, camaraderie and mateship. But despite the good times, the bush still has problems with Telstra. The phones out here are so bad that people have to take desperate measures to communicate with the rest of Australia.
Evening and welcome to Australia Talks, the program where the audience asks the question.
Another sore point for bushies is dairy deregulation. Families like the Harrisons here have been hit hard. So why are farmers feeling the pain? Professor?
I'm not sure, really.
It's clear there are no easy answers, and the government's put the problem in the too hard basket. The sad thing is that the solution is so simple. All we need is a whole lot more of this: money. If the government quadrupled its subsidy to the bush, then everyone out here would be a whole lot happier. And maybe then we can all get back to those simple country pleasures. Corona with a twist of lime, thanks mate.
All I know is they shouldn't be doing them bomb things in the Pacific, whatever thingy.
Hello and welcome back to the Election Chaser, live from the National Tally Room in Canberra. Well, Cheryl Kernot certainly has had a memorable campaign so far. Chris, what have you thought?
Well, she's not the most popular member of the Labor Party at the moment, I would have thought. It'd be interesting to see how this recent performance affects her position in the party room.
Well, I think it will have an effect. Actually, if we look at the Parliament, you can see that this is Cheryl's position currently. And I've actually done some projections on this. If Kernot's re-elected to Parliament, This is how it's going to look.
Oh, gee, that's a real turnaround for Curnow. I mean, you've got to remember she came to the Labor Party as the star recruit, having just defected from the Democrats.
Yeah, she really is a very interesting politician, Cheryl Curnow. Of course, most politicians would be loyal to only one party during their career, but Cheryl's obviously different. I've actually done a little bit of research into this, and something that others haven't picked up on, but there is actually a pattern to this. I've called it the Curnow cycle. If we have a look at it, in 1993, Cheryl was, of course, the leader of the Australian Democrats, and then 4 years on, in 1997, she entered what I call the defection zone. Then, of course, she defected to the Labor Party, and now 2001, mark it again, 4 years on, and the pattern has repeated itself, and she's back in the defection zone.
Well, that would certainly explain her behaviour of late, and coincidentally at a time when Labor wouldn't mind getting rid of her. In fact, on the quiet, they approached us to see if we could trade her to the Liberal Party.
I'm here in Canberra on behalf of Cheryl Curnow, who wants us to help her join the Liberal Party before the next election. I've put together a bit of a portfolio, so let's talk to some Liberals and see if we can make a deal. I'm with Cheryl Curnow. She's looking to join a winning team before the election. Wondering if we can arrange a transfer into the Liberal Party. What do you think? I mean, she'd be a great team player, you know that.
We
She's got a lot to
ladies
offer.
in red dresses and feather boas.
Would you take her into the Liberal Party? I think she's got a lot to offer.
She's on a losing team now.
Well, that's right.
She's
looking to join up. She's got a lot to offer the Liberal Party. There's going to be a few spaces on the front bench.
She had very little to offer the Democrats.
I mean, she's a team player. Pretty well any team she'll play for.
She's obviously had nothing to offer the Labor Party.
Well, she's been keeping all her good ideas for you. She's very loyal. She'll join any team and
she whinges.
Oh, no. She's the sort of person, she just likes to speak her mind occasionally. As you can see, she's very versatile. I mean, I've got 3 words for you. Potential, potential, potential.
That might have been said once, but she's suffered a great deal in the last few years.
Well, look, she had a bad season last year, but she wasn't really getting on with the captain very well and a few problems with the coach. Mr. Reith's leaving. Maybe she could be Defence Minister. I mean, she's very defensive. She's a player who could really add to your lineup. And let's face it, you've got a bit of space on the reserves bench at the moment. You've got a few people leaving, haven't you? Well, she could be your star draft. She'd fit in. And if she didn't fit in, she'd tell you. You wouldn't take her? Maybe we can drop the price a bit and you wouldn't have to pay as much as Labor did.
Mate, I'd like to congratulate you on your initiative. Have you discussed this with Cheryl?
Got others. What about Mark Latham? I'll trade you for Rod Kemp. What about that? Mr. Beasley, look, I've spoken to the Liberals, I've spoken to the Nationals. No one's really going to take her. Can we drop price or something?
What are you talking about?
Just trying to get a transfer for Cheryl onto another team before the election.
The issues. The airline industry. For many years, Australia's airline industry was regulated. Qantas and Ansett enjoyed a cosy duopoly, which gave travellers little choice. Deregulation opened up competition. This allowed more airlines than ever the chance to collapse, giving passengers a simpler choice. The ACCC says domestic flyers will still have choice by insisting Qantas offer both tea and coffee.
Welcome back to the National Tally Room. Now, we mentioned earlier the great debate, and Chris, not one of John Howard's strongest moments.
No, it wasn't, was it? And look, I blame Ray. I thought he pretty much lost control from the off.
Well, he was very loose, wasn't he? Look, to be frank, I don't think he's up to it anymore. He's too lightweight even to host the Ray Martin show, I reckon.
Well, that's right. Did you see it the other night? They had human nature and they just rolled right over the top of him. I mean, how can you possibly control our leaders when you can't control a boy band?
Yeah, it's very true. I think it's been proven that if you want to have a proper leaders debate in this country, it should be on the ABC, and it should be with a journalist who for years has proven that they're not going to pull their punches.
Someone who may not have the full support of management right at the moment, but who, in these big debates, is prepared to ask the tough questions and won't give any easy free kicks away.
Yeah, that's true, very true, and I think we all know who that is.
Oh, have you got a cat that's 13?
Yes.
I've got Fluffy Bum, she's 9, and Patchy's 16.
Honeycomb's a veteran, paired with Fluffy.
So where does she live, in Canberra? Or...
In Kirribilli.
Could I bring my cats up to visit Honeycomb? They'd love it up there.
Talk about a bloodbath.
Well, just merciless, wasn't she? She had him alive in there.
Yeah, well, certainly it's clear we need another debate in this election, and it's clear on that evidence that only Denise has got what it takes. We're very grateful that Denise has agreed to join us here on the Election Chaser and is standing by in our studios now. Denise?
Mr Howard, this studio's available every day, every night, right up until the election. When you're ready to debate, I'm here.
Well, Denise has issued the challenge. Mr Howard, Mr Beasley, we await your response.
In this advanced information age, who will make our ads more visual? Who will make the tough decision to sack the agency that slaved on this? Is it too much to ask for a picture? I mean, Howard may be ugly, but a small glimpse wouldn't kill us. Even those bloody health ads had some umbrellas in them. Just give us some different text or something.
How about this? A few different words in a slightly smaller font.
I like Johnny Howard, you know why? Because I like the word Johnny. Sounds all good.
Can you summarise?
Welcome back to the Election Chaser, and with just under 3 weeks till the close of polling, things are really hotting up here in the National Tally Room. Julian, have we got some results in?
I've still got nothing.
All right, as we wait for the Electoral Commission to catch up, perhaps we can have a look at the result of the last election.
Sure, Craig. This is the House of Representatives and how it looked after the last election. If we go to the present, I think you'll see there have been some pretty significant changes since 1998.
Sorry, am I missing something here? It's exactly the same, isn't it?
I'm surprised you can't see that, Chris. In fact, my computer graphics have got really cool since 1998.
But that's not actually telling us anything different,
No,
is
but
it?
if you wait a second, I can bring in Lara Croft from Tomb Raider and then
Sorry,
you'll see
Julian,
some
I'm
real
just going
fun.
to have to interrupt you there. I've just been advised we have had a security scare here. I mentioned earlier that Natasha Stockdale-Spoyer had been trying to break into the studio. Well, I have just been advised that she has somehow managed to get herself inside the Tally Room complex, so...
Yes, there she is. Just a warning, if she does get into the studio, we will have to go to black, so we'll hopefully not do that.
I think that's her that... Oh, God, she means business. We've got some more security coming in there. Yes, I think they have successfully apprehended her there. Yes, there we go. They brought her to the ground, so that seemed to have got that in hand. And Senator Stockdale-Spoyer, I hope, will now be removed from the premises.
And obviously we'll be alerting Rove and the panel that she is at large. We do apologise for that. We will go on with the broadcast. We're joined now by our electoral pundit, Dominic Knight, who's been out on the campaign trail. Dominic?
Thanks, Craig. Yes, I've been out looking for the greatest gaffes of campaign 2001 to award a special prize. The Mal.
Yes, the Mal, of course, is named after the former rugby league great Mal Meninga, whose entire political career was a bit of a stuff-up. Here's the footage now of when he went to launch that career on ABC Radio in Canberra.
Meninga, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Why are you standing?
A number of reasons. I guess throughout my sporting career, I've had the urge to do community work, and I think I've really worked hard on that aspect. My 16 years in Canberra, and the thing about that is that I was, I guess, a public figure, and I was put on on the podium where I was just a person out there making sure that I was. I'm buggered. I'm sorry.
And that was the end of his political career as well. Certainly one of the shortest I've ever seen.
Actually, a total of 20 seconds.
Well, we'll be awarding one Mal Award to a lucky entrant each week. And Dom, who's this week's winner?
Well, the inaugural Mal goes to the Minister for Reconciliation, Philip Ruddock. At the start of the campaign, he sent out a letter across Australia that boasted about the positive developments which are occurring as a result of the national commitment to reducing Indigenous Australians. So I went out on the trail to give him his Mal.
Mr Ruddock, sorry, Dominic Knight, Election Chaser. Lovely to meet you.
How are you, Dominic?
Very well, thanks. I've come here to present you with this Mal Award.
Now, what is the Mal Award?
It's a new award. It's for people who make, a little bit of a goose of themselves on the campaign
I thought
trail.
you might say something like that.
And what this is for your press release talking about reducing Indigenous Australians. And we've looked at all the gaffes that have been made in the past week, and you came out on top. It's named after Mal Meninga, whose political career lasted all of 6 seconds, and it really is for the biggest gaffe.
It looks like a very colourful piece. And good luck to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Do you think maybe the mantelpiece at home?
Look, I think just there will be fine.
Now, don't be shy, Mr Ruddock. You've earned this.
Shy.
You've deserved... No, honestly, Mr Ruddock, this is yours. You put in the hard yards, Mr Ruddock. Mr Ruddock, don't leave without your Mal. You deserve this. Here you go, Mr Ruddock. Here. Please don't leave without your Mal. You deserve this, Minister, and your proofreader particularly deserves this. We want your proofreader to have this. He's left without his Mal. What a tragedy. What a tragedy.
You really need help.
What would you suggest?
Really need help.
I don't know, Philip Ruddock, he acts all tough when it comes to refugees, but I think underneath it all, he's just a shy, modest guy who wouldn't even take his Mal. Back to you, Craig.
And congratulations there to Mr Ruddock, our first Mal.
And if you notice any stuff-ups on the campaign trail worthy of a Mal, make sure you send them to us here at election.chaser@abc.net.au.
Send in the best suggestion and you could win this special prize.
Here at last, it's Hansard. The complete parliamentary transcripts from 1901 to the present day. This beautifully bound volume could be yours to keep forever. Every point of order, every interjection. Now the only debate left is who gets to read it first.
I'm reading it first. I read it first. I do.
That's Hansard.
And I can say I've read the complete Hansard from cover to cover and can thoroughly recommend it.
Well, that's all we have time for here in the National Tally Room.
Just before we do go, I should just stress that we've been at pains tonight to ensure there's been no bias in our election coverage. The ABC's been quite adamant that we don't allocate more airtime to one party over the other. So we'll just have to quickly check our balance. Julian, how are you measuring it?
I've got the Liberals down by 15 seconds.
Ooh, OK, look, we will have to redress that then. So if we got, yeah, the Liberal one.
Y'all ready for this?
All right, I think that should be enough. We'll just wait for the all clear from the ABC board.
Yeah, they're happy.
All right, well, join us again next week when the election chaser team and Denise Drysdale will still be here in the National Tally Room, bringing you all the results as they come to hand. We'll leave you tonight with more of that great Australian pastime, refugee bashing. Good night. What do you reckon? It's a parliamentary sport.
Good luck to it.
You don't think so?
What about if I sang the Australian national anthem while we did? Like, would that be, you know, Australians or let us rejoice?
I mean, it's been a good sport recently.
Are you from the media?
I don't want to have a go. Do you want to get a better bat, maybe? Because we are young and free.
Come on, I mean, he hasn't got a visa, so he can't vote you out. Bring back a harder bat, can you?
And
I don't want to bash this guy.
No?
I'd like to shake his hand. All the best.
Oh, this is the ABC. This would have been our opportunity.